Oh, baby.
Oh my gosh. Welcome back, everybody, to the Pebbled Path. I'm Peter Yang, and today Lane. Lane, I actually don't know what
Yeah.
your last name is.
I'm Lane Davis,
Lane
and here
Davis.
we go with a topic that I'm breaking out my tongs here because this is hot. I can't believe that we're getting into this, having established almost no credibility. On our second ever episode, we are wading into Peter. What's our topic today?
The greatest game of our generation.
Now, Peter, this is a thicket of definitions that we have to
Woo!
wade through today. So,
Woo!
what exactly is our generation? I am 32. I'm about to turn 33 very quickly. I assume you're a little bit younger than I am.
Yeah, just slightly. I just turned 32 on October 1st, so that's my birthday.
Okay. Gotcha. So, Peter, what would you say our generation is? If I were to say Tetris here, is that before our generation or
So,
is that within
we're
us?
gonna pull up Google here, the old Google box, and I believe the definition of generation is about 25 years.
Mm.
So yes, a group of people born and living during the same time. How long is a generation? About 25 years. Yeah, is the average. So Tetris, if we look up the actual, when was Tetris made?
Yes, it was like mid 80s, right?
When Tetris made? 1984. So
Ooh.
25 years. It's good. It checks out. Wait, no, it's too old. Just kidding. I
No,
can do
that's
math.
way too old. That's
I
way
can
too
do
old. That game
math.
is older than either of us by far.
So no, that game does not qualify, and that's going to be something that we're going to be doing. So one of the parameters that we're going to be saying
Mm.
is that in order for this game to win the category, it has to be made or release date within 25 years of today.
Okay.
Yes.
But if it was a game that was released last year and we happen to be playing it, is that a Zoomer game or is that like does that fall into us? For example, if I were to say that my favorite game ever was Fortnite,
Uh,
best game, would that count considering it came out like in the last couple of years?
I would say yes. It is an absolutely valid choice. However, I'm going to slap you because how dare you, Lane? How dare you toy with the viewers' feelings?
My list is entirely based on the amount of money that they made. So wait till we
Really?
get to Roblox.
Oh no! Oh my god! Roblox is definitely I will talk about. I want to talk about Roblox,
Mm,
but yes, money
let's
money
go.
is a great metric. But one thing I want to establish for
Mm.
a good metric for generation defining is that it has affected how big of an impact has it had on A, the industry, and B, audience. So
Ooh.
those are two metrics that I want to bring up when we're discussing our games coming out. So.
Pardon me, I'm just going to add in Candy Crush here.
Okay. I'll happily talk about Candy Crush because that Facebook games made an impact. They really did. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Like when we say greatest here, I mean we could go for just what has had in the abstract the largest magnitude,
Oh yeah.
but I'm definitely of the opinion that like it would be better if certain kinds of mobile games did not exist, and so like I would have a hard time putting something that was that influential in that direction. Like I wouldn't put Farmville. Like that game definitely had a huge impact on how games are made.
Correct.
But like, would I put it in the top 10 of greatest? I
No.
don't think so.
No, absolutely not. Okay. Well, those are some good metrics. We can go ahead and start the discussion because I think those are great launching pads, which is again how we run a podcast. For those like just joining us for the first time today, we don't do a normal podcast. We basically like to ramble and have a launching pad of a topic and go from there. This is probably going to be main. This is probably going to stay on topic pretty well because we're both very passionate on what we think is going to be our greatest game of our generation. The GGOOG, as Lane put it.
Now you don't know what I'm gonna say, and I have no idea what you're gonna say, and I assume that we're gonna do a little bit of like two wolves from rival packs meeting
Yes.
in the forest, sort of circling around, sniffing the air a little bit
Right.
here
Right.
before we go in for our like top games.
Yes. But why don't you throw the first punch?
Yes. As wolves are wont to do. Let's see. So, easing in something somewhere in my lower in my top 10 in terms of games that I would place here. I would say that one thing that I thought about when putting this together was games that of high quality, but games that sort of like jumped onto the scene and really opened up a lot of doors in terms of design. Like people realized, oh, this is a thing that we can riff on, and it's going to make a lot of people very successful by coming up with variations on this theme.
Oh yeah.
And so like now, by the way, are we talking about games or are we talking about video games specifically?
Oh, we're gonna talk about games in general.
Games in general.
Yes, because of course anything that is interactive, I would say call it a game, and that would be perfectly acceptable for the category.
That helps immensely because I was gonna say the board game, the card game Dominion would have to be someplace on my list in terms of it just sort of like I love it. I've played way too much of it. It's easily in the 1,000-hour club for me.
Really?
But holy smokes, did that game ever make a lot of people a lot of money by coming up with variations on Dominion?
Correct. There is actually one of my favorite images is like Master Splinter holding like the baby Ninja Turtles, and it's saying like Settlers of Catan, Dominion, one other game, and then the next image is like Master Splinter being old and the Ninja Turtles being like older and like big and like they're the one like they're like towering over Splinter but like still holding hands, and it's like Clank in space, and then like Pipe. What is it? I can't think of the game. It's really good. It's like the CD connector one. Power Grid. Power Grid's a fantastic game. Yeah, but yeah, no, 100%. Dominion, fantastic board game.
Yeah, and as you said, like not only like inspires like so many different series of games in board games, but also probably has in its lineage some of our favorite games. Like I would say that like, easily Slay the Spire, the game we talked about the most in the last episode, and all the games that inspired probably would not exist if there hadn't been a wonderful granddaddy deck builder.
Correct.
Was there a deck builder before Dominion, or was that actually the inventor of the concept?
No. There were several games before Dominion, like Elements to a degree. There was also like this weird Flash-based game on Congregate that was like Castle Wars. Yeah, and like basically you got to make a deck of X amount of cards, and you play against another castle, which is another player, mind you. So those were more constructed type of things. But deck building as a mechanic being you add cards to your deck that you use again multiple times versus other scenarios versus characters did exist beforehand. But Dominion was the first one to do it in person. Well, back up. There was a Chinese game. It was a game made over China that had deck building elements that I do not know the name of. But I know that.
All right, Peter.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm feeling like I'm out here like shivering and exposed. I need to hear one of your criteria, one of your games.
Okay, so one of the games that I would love to talk about, and I'm gonna punch really hard, is Undertale. Undertale is not my greatest game of the generation.
This was like the one game that we talked about leading up to the show, by the way. Yeah. I had no idea that this was going to be on your list.
100%. But I want to come out swinging because this game, while smashing indie box sales, spawning an entirety of, I would say, like homestuck level of fandom, and I know that feels bold, but
doubtless.
I don't I don't doubt it that Undertale has influenced and impacted so many people and such a big audience that it is going to be like something that people are going to be upset that I don't think that it's the greatest game of our generation. I really do.
I mean, I also, tell the truth, I have like an entry on this list that I think is the greatest purely for philosophical reasons. And so I really appreciate the aesthetics of your choice here.
Yeah.
Now, so you managed to select one though that was not only like a financial success, not only like a lot of people love this game, but also shifted sort of the consciousness around what RPGs can do. Now, I don't doubt that like as a person who has like made a visual novel, as a person who's played many of them, and who has played many like Sierra games, there's not a thing I would say about Undertale that is 100% unique, but it dramatically punched the like design space in a lot of people's heads of like what RPGs can do and how much they can remember your decisions.
Yes.
There was a episode of Nice Games Club that launched this week that was just talking about the illusion of choice. And I think that Undertale is, to me, one of the most satisfying counterexamples of saying that, like, no, choice can actually matter in a story-based game.
100%. And I think that's where Undertale proves it, in that are you looking back to its like predecessor, its inspiration of Earthbound, Mother 2, Mother 3, that has proven as a game mechanic. What is it? Those games are cult classics, and for the audience size, their gaming audience wasn't that big when those games were coming out. By the time Undertale came out, excuse me, gaming had been destigmatized, if you will. So there was a huge audience that wanted that would react to this game, which was basically a natural need. It was like it was time for a new Earthbound to come out. It really was, and Undertale just showed up right when it needed to. It was perfect timing.
Was there like with the story of how that game came out? Was there like anything you think that like helped that game get launched? Because like I love that game, but I don't even know why I had the opportunity to love that game. How did that game become so big? Do you have any idea?
So it tore off two things. They actually did a Kickstarter with a very solid demo and the literal Beyond the Door cliffhanger. And the point of no return. Like, they are following the hero's journey very well. But where the point of no return comes out, that is where they left the demo on the cliffhanger, and that is fantastic.
Gotcha. And I think that like to a degree, like the YouTube being able to like listen to the soundtrack like helped a lot, I think.
Yeah, no, everything they did for marketing in terms of like releasing it to like reviewers early and so on and so forth, this was very, very spot on, very standard. But what mattered was the content, the game itself, which and the story, the amount of time they took to they took the extra what is it? The Kickstarter took 2-ish years to produce after being funded or something like that, and then finally came out. So like during that entire time, keeping a community engaged, like making a Discord, posting updates where they could, like that's how you do it. That's how you maintain hype for 2 years.
It was kind of like unfathomably big for what it was. All right, Peter.
All right, hit me back.
I'm gonna say one that I think may hypothetically be on your list as well, just because I think it was huge, and I think it is probably I think this might be controversial, but like it may be the best in its series. I think that Mario 64 is one of the greatest games ever made.
I'm gonna call him the judge. Continue.
Easily. Do you think? No. That's not before our generation. No way.
That game was like 1996. That is just on the cusp. June 23rd.
There we go. That's how perfect of a game it is.
Unbelievable.
You can't get more influential than the first game of our generation, Peter. This game is like the one of the things that I love about it is that it has continued to evolve. It has not received any patches outside of the like NTSC like 1.01 release when the game came out. But it has continued to evolve. It has one of the most active speedrunning communities. Yep. It has one of the most active tassing and like challenge communities. And both of those are so big that there is actually a spin-off community of those things, of people who make tools for the tassing and speedrunning community for that game specifically. So in terms of like, so I'm getting way into the weeds here, but like, in terms of like a certain sort of subcommunity of people who care deeply about an old game, like I don't think that there's anything more influential, a game that people have dug in deeper into the code than this game to try to understand every single aspect about it. I don't know. Can you think of any example where people have gone further?
I wanted to just go because I do have N64 on my list. Ocarina of Time, baby.
Okay, like please, I need to hear this justification because these two, this is like the ultimate heavyweight fight.
It is, and again, these are I'm making this debate of this is not the greatest game of our generation, but these are like our honorable mentions. Yes, though.
Yeah, I think Mario 64 is like it's probably like my number 8 or number 9.
Cool. All right. We're working on the list, but yes, these games, while fantastic, establishing and gosh, what is this? Establishing what a good game could be is what these games really do. Is that like granted, a lot of games were coming out at the time that were very fun and enjoyable, like going back to like all the way from like RPGs on the Super Nintendo, like Super Mario RPG, Super Mario, so on and so forth. Those games were again stuck in their system limitations, and the N64 was going to be, and the PlayStation for that matter, were going to be the first systems that were going to say, here is us pushing the envelope and killing it.
Well, exactly. I can't stress on how many different dimensions, if you'll pardon the pun, they actually killed it there. Because one of my favorite GDC talks of all time, possibly my favorite one, is I think it's called something like 50 Common Problems with Video Game Cameras or something like that. And it's just a clip and an explanation of so many different things that can go wrong with cameras in 3D environments. And the thing about these two games, and I think particularly Ocarina of Time, is that they like the staggering genius of these games is not only like are they're somehow remembered as being these fantastic games today, and they are still playable today.
Absolutely.
But they also pioneered solutions to things that like countless games had failed before them, and like only within like the first like couple of years of 3D games even being like mainstream. It was unbelievable how good of a job they did.
Exactly. Let's not even get started on dungeon logic, which is probably the coolest shit that both Mario 64 and Ocarina of Time really got into. Like there's a whole like boss dungeon is a whole YouTube series, and their entirety of their show is running through dungeon logic.
Boss keys,
thank you. I'm so sorry, that's the name of it. Yeah, and they make so much content, and like it gets hundreds of thousands of views, and all they're doing is analyzing a dungeon. It's fantastic.
Oh, okay. And I can see, but I will furiously disagree with you, Peter. But I can totally see the logic of selecting Ocarina of Time going head to head with Mario in terms of which game is more technically explored. Because you're right, that game is, well, in terms of speedrunning, busted in half for the last couple of years.
Absolutely.
But also, like, people have been like going deep in terms of like randomizer and like logic of what items can appear where, and like the in terms of like the replayability. 64 may hypothetically have more different ways that people speedrun it.
Yes.
Maybe. But like with Ocarina, you actually have people like inventing whole new ways for like just journeyman level people who might not be the best speedrunner in the world, but who want to go back into that game and explore it all over again, and having like randomizer elements let people do that. Neither of these games has ever received any patches, and yet there's still thousands and thousands of people playing it all the time. It's their game today.
Yeah, it is still, like you said, thriving community. People are still engaging it, talking about it, finding new ways to play it. That is going to be incredibly good. But is it generation defining? And I don't know. Again, it released in 12 years. Great impact on audience, great impact on industry, mind you. But I think we get into the next metric, which is how. So audience industry is going to be strictly gaming audience industry. The next metric I wanted to bring up is how big it made an impact on the general public, like people who do not play video games.
Oh no!
This is going to be the killer,
Peter, no.
the killer of many of our picks. Is that how big does this game impact the non-gaming audience?
Yes. I can't wait to hear what you're gonna say. I'm very scared.
Yep. So we're only 19 minutes into the show, so there's plenty of time. I'm not gonna reveal my trap card, my ace in the hole, but going back to Facebook games.
Oh no, Peter!
The dreaded. I know we weren't gonna talk about it. We mentioned it in passing, but the dreaded.
Are you serious?
Yeah. This is on my list. It's not the winner. Absolutely not. But game defining, audience basing is gonna be Farmville and Facebook gaming in general. So like Bejeweled, Candy Crush, all of those things impacted so many non-gamer people that it has to get mentioned. You cannot not talk about this game, these type of games, despite their inherent what is it, pigeon box? What the hell is it called?
Oh yeah, you're talking about the Skinner box.
Skinner box. Yes. That's 100% what these games capitalize on. This is the Skinner box effect. But and they're terrible games, mind you. They are.
Yeah.
But their impact is phenomenal. Continue.
Okay, yeah, I guess this really comes down to your definition of what the word great means.
Okay.
Yes. In terms of being like Oz the Great and terrible. Sure.
Yes,
let's roll with this. I want to hear some discussion around how Farmville changed the landscape, because I cannot deny that it did, even though I think that some of it's not so much that I think Farmville itself was like an evil game or anything, but I definitely think that it started touching some things in terms of like what we can do with numbers and analytics. That I think maybe something that I'll put it diplomatically, maybe our moral intuitions haven't caught up with yet.
We are better than Farmville. As a company, as people, as an industry, we are better than Farmville. I will say that much for sure. I'd like to think that, at least, despite all the shenanigans going in with Activision Blizzard King right now, which actually would be a good topic to talk about at another episode. But yes, Farmville preyed upon the casual mentality of skitterboxing and making people, ooh, big number go up.
And why, like, what was so successful about it, and what have people taken away from it?
There's a reason Farmville is dead and Candy Crush is alive. And the really big part is that like Farmville was right integrated with our social media, Facebook, and you were able to click, join, invite, and grow right off of something that you could just like you were already checking Facebook every day at that point. Let's take a look at the exact date Farmville came out. When did Farmville come out? Farmville 2? Get out of here. 2009. Yeah, Farmville came out 2009.
Oh yeah.
Immediate viral hit, meaning 1 million active users by the end of the first week. Wow, that's impressive. Actually, that's a big number.
So not to take this metaphor too far, but you say a viral hit. One thing I thought that was particularly special about it is that we didn't have a sort of like social antibodies around sharing games by way of links. I think that game. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was one of the first ones that gave you a in-game reward for sharing it on your timeline or sharing it directly to other people.
Yeah, and that talks about industry impact, because 100% did. Every single game that was Facebook based did that because they knew it recognized an increased player base, and it was a minor reward because you were already starving your player with energy limitations, money limitations, resource limitations. So by getting them to invite their friends, which is again like 2-3 clicks, made all the difference for how viral a game could be.
Now you went ahead and you said that Candy Crush was a game that had like succeeded more than this game in some ways. Should we pivot to that, or is that something that's like further up on?
No, we can pivot to that now. It's very minor. Yeah. I'm gonna pull a quote from I think Extra Credits. I'm pretty sure they said this first, but I agree wholeheartedly in that Candy Crush is a game that teases victory, which is something that many games don't do until like Dark Souls or something like that. Like a game that is like constantly. Like one of the game, I hate saying this. Its core engagement is the tease of victory. It's like if you're a smart player and you play Bejeweled or you play other games or you play a lot of strategy games, like like okay, I could win in a couple turns. Like I got this. I know exactly what moves to make, so on and so forth. But Candy Crush has a lot of weird. It has a lot of weird puzzle mechanics, like clear the board, make a match on every single area of the grid, destroy all X amount of blocks, destroy an X amount of candy in an X amount of moves, so on and so forth. And so when you fail a mission in Candy Crush, you can see how far you are toward winning or completing your objective. And they prompt you to immediately, would you like to spend money on a thing? Would you want to get an extra move? You want to buy a little Candy Crusher thingy?
And so your argument, Peter, what you've brought before me today, I hope that your number one game is not along these lines.
It is not.
Because what you're sharing with me here is that the greatness of a game. And by the way, I don't disagree with you, but like that the like greatness of a game partially is or can be aided by the marketing genius behind it.
Yes.
By the leap of insight in how we can like use some element of people's psychology. I mean, that's just all game design is. But in this case, they found a way to absolutely vault the success of the game up using that stuff by tying that like user experience to something that propelled the game.
Yeah. That's why Candy Crush is still killing it. They know exactly how to tease a player to not just pay money, but to be like, oh, you were this close to the finish line consistently. All right. I've said some blasphemy. Let's hear something from Lane and what they feel is not the greatest game of our generation.
All right. I'm like pretty big on saying that this should be on the list, even though I personally don't love it. And that is Minecraft. It's got to be there, right?
Okay.
It's got to be there.
Okay.
And by the way, I'm gonna come out and say that my like lack of liking for this game comes down almost entirely down to physical reasons. I can admire this game from many different things.
Yes.
It just happens to make me motion sick. But I think that this game is probably like I think it's hard to argue that has had an enormous impact in a beautiful direction because it has sort of like through modding of it, I think it's opened up like game design and game development to a staggeringly large number of particularly young people, and it is so easy to get into the game mods here that has actually allowed like a younger and less technically skilled group of people than ever to actually have an active player base that wants to like test out their game. So both in terms of like the joy of playing it and in terms of the effect that it's going to have on game development down the road from bringing in all these people, I can't think of a game that's bigger than that.
So I hate you in that this is actually my pick for the greatest game of our generation.
Oh! Amazing. Well, in that case, don't let me blather on about this. I want to hear from you. Why is this number one?
No, like, so you were beating down on it a little bit, but the ending things that you said of making a huge industry impact, B, having an incredibly large audience base of all ages is gonna be why I think this is the greatest game of our generation. And I'm happy you brought it up because this is my pick. This is not my favorite game. I have probably only played like 2-3 hours of Minecraft, but I 100% understood within that first few hours how much time that like you can sink into this, a la World of Warcraft, which again we'll talk about MMOs in a second here, but Minecraft is my pick because of the fact that it has spawned and like even its design story, its development story is phenomenal. It was a free game, and I forget this all the time. Minecraft was free for a long time of its development. Before it got picked up, made, and then people still bought it. It was free, and people still bought Minecraft. That's how good this game was. That's how much of an impact that people wanted to be like, oh, I can play this on PC, or I can play this on Xbox, Switch, and stuff like that. Oh yeah, I'll buy it now. No, the game was free before this point, and they just wanted the service. They wanted to do the developers good and buy and purchase this game after making it free. How good of a game do you have to be in order to release a free version and have someone still afterwards go and buy the six? Oh, I don't know how much the price point is, but it's like $30-$40. I'm guessing. Let's look up. I'm gonna look up how much Minecraft is. Is Minecraft?
I don't know. I spent $25 for it.
Yeah, around $27.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
Cool.
And that still looks like to be its price point, about around $27 after tax. But no, this game has Minecraft has spawned so many things, even as big as Mind Fair. What game do you know has its own convention? Every game that is out there is a part of conventions, and there's a huge part. It has had a huge following, and they've been like Nintendo rallies behind its giants like Mario, Sonic, Zelda, like Link, all that stuff. But they don't have their own convention.
I don't know, Peter. I don't know. I think that there is at least one Nintendo game where Nintendo didn't support it, and yet it has had an enormous convention and other things following for a very long time.
Okay. Well, you seem eager to talk about this. I'm happy to step down from my Minecraft box. We'll get back there later.
Honestly, like, yeah, I think that we should circle back to that when we get to the top, because yes. There is much more to say about the different mods there.
Yes.
But like, okay, so this is definitely where I go a little bit out there. But I certainly think that like some of the like the fighter games have spawned probably a more energetic community than anything else out there. And so I think that one thing that you can say is there certainly are games that have enormous numbers. Like, yes. Doubtless World of Warcraft, other MMOs, like there's no game that gets to like print $1 billion a month, right? Like there's no fighting game that has ever done that. But in terms of like you're like Street Fighter, you're like Moment 37, if people don't know what that is. I think that there are a few things that have sort of like taken human emotions to the height that fighting games have, in terms of just being like super hype. And now this is going to be extremely controversial if Steven is listening to this. He a friend of the show, Stephen McGregor from Nice Games Club. We're going to get some angry mail, but I think that in terms of trundling along, creating the most hype moments with no institutional support whatsoever.
Let's go, Justin.
Actually, I was gonna say, you know what, Peter? I was gonna say Smash Melee.
Oh no! You betrayed me! You traitor! Oh, how dare you! Oh, you monster! Oh.
Oh, you like that pivot? Here, Moment 37. That's me shaking the tinfoil on my left hand while my right goes in for the strike.
Oh, you monster!
I think we can talk exact numbers down the road, but in terms of having like hundreds of tournaments with thousands of people in attendance, and having like just an absolutely insane community with, again, and like probably having one of the best online fighting games in the world, probably the best in Project Slippy. I just don't think that there's a game that has had, again, like I'm sort of approaching things on a slightly different dimension, which is I sort of feel like if like 500,000 people are absolutely in love with the game and it is their passion, their thing in life, then that is as big of a success as if you have like 10 million and it's just like a game that they kind of enjoy. I think that it has been that for an enormous community for a very long time.
You are correct. I forget this very frequently, but people have turned Smash Bros. Melee into their career.
Yeah, yes, and goodness, the online client is just out of this world. So good right now.
Yeah, and there's the thing, that community was so passionate about this game is that a couple of like coders, engineers, and devs were like, we need to make rollback code, net code. We got to get this ELO system rating going on. We got to make sure, like, I don't know, it's fantastic voting system that you like both players need to agree that they lost the match in order for it to register. If there's a dispute, you can dispute it, so on and so forth. Oh my god.
And I believe, I could be wrong about this, but all this has been done with the like blade of Damocles above their heads, right? Like there is no reason to believe that Nintendo couldn't just cease and desist them at any time, right?
This is correct. This is 100% one of the rare Nintendo cases that Nintendo hasn't said stop.
Yeah.
It's very, very similar to like the speedrunner community and the randomizer community, which they're like, why? Very rarely does Nintendo ever, because they in order to like protect their IP, they have to kind of go after the little people. As far as I know, like, as far as like copyright protection, you have to chase down the little people. Otherwise, if one little person wins, every big person can use that little person's case in court as an example.
Now, I feel like I'm like out here on a very shaky branch at the moment because I have to admit I simply do not have the knowledge of the Street Fighter community that I do of the Smash community. So I could easily be toppled. And I feel like the Street Fighter 2 like generation is another game that has had just a like staggeringly large and passionate community.
Yeah, I was gonna go Third Strike. I was gonna go Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Like those are gonna be the other like, again, I keep thinking like big hitters. You said something earlier, Colossus, Giants, something rally behind. I can't remember.
Right.
But those are gonna be the games that of the fighting game community that everyone will go back to for the rest of their lives. Like, I'm gonna blatantly shout out Starcade over in Roseville in Minnesota here. They have a Third Strike machine and an MVC2 machine. It's fantastic, and those games are complicated as all heck. And I am not a great player, but I was able to kind of use my basic knowledge to outbeat somebody who is not bad, but like able to like mash things out. But those games don't stand up to Melee because of its approachability and access. And that's another thing, is that granted, however big Marvel's Capcom or SF3 were going to be in Japan, Melee was international. Melee was an international success, and that's why I agree with you wholeheartedly that Melee beats out all the other ones, even though their following and competitive scene was much smaller.
Peter, I can't describe my affection for you right now, saving me by saying how approachable that game is. Because yes, I was one of the sad youth that was sort of rebuffed from Street Fighter 2. I was too much of a John to play that game, but I did sort of like dummy my way into getting like fairly good at Melee, just because like it's so like effortless to just like give people the knee a bunch and then all of a sudden you're in there.
Yeah, no, and that's the beauty of Melee. It's a 4-5 button game, air quote, but like
something like that.
Yeah, and that's where the complexity of like any other fighting game, having 6 buttons and having to do inputs. There was a whole there was a bridge of a shaky bridge where Kazuya players were when Smash was coming out, and you had to put like combat inputs. They even Street Fighter Ryu Ken, they allowed players with fighting game capability to allow them to put inputs to like Master Command versus like having to do like this Melee style like side B, up B, just regular B. Like I'm sure that was a lot of fun for the programmers to work in. Continue.
And there's people out there who like looked at like Smash Brothers and particularly like Melee and were like, wow, these games are like for babies. They're like so easy to play. I encourage anybody to go to YouTube, search for Hacks Money, HAXMONEY. You'll find a YouTube channel called Aziz Aliyami. And that says like getting into the technical details in Melee, and you'll be swiftly convinced that there is insane depth to this game.
Oh yeah, no, and that's what I love about Nickelodeon All Stars Brawl. Like what a Nickelodeon, is it All Stars Brawl? Is that the full name? I just call it Nickelodeon Brawl at this point, but that game is on the cusp, the edge of insanity, and I'm looking forward to where it goes in the next few months, even when they release DLC characters. I'm looking forward to, because because of the potential that Smash Brothers has proven, and apparently the people that made Slap City, which was I believe Slap City was a free game, but the makers of Slap City made this game, so they know what they're doing. And so in terms of programming and editing, character creation, hitbox, all that stuff, not worried. So as long as they've already had a great weekend sale, box sale, I want them to get IPs like Cartoon Network, where they can bring in like Goku and Samurai Jack.
Oh goodness!
Could you imagine how cool that would be? Because sure, it's a Nickelodeon All-Star game, but that's how Nintendo started off, right? And then they started leading in other characters. I'm gonna give them time. Give Nickelodeon All-Stars time. I'm in a rush. But if you could give me Samurai Jack, I will buy that game. I will play this game.
One to watch for sure.
Exactly.
All right, Peter, we've talked about fighting games. Well, okay, we talked about my fighting game for a little bit too long here. Bring us along. What's our next?
Okay, all right. MMOs. Let's talk about MMOs, and I'm gonna just thread them in together. MOBAs, because these are multiplayer games. Because that's
Holy smokes, we're doing MOBAs and MMOs together.
I'm just gonna drop them together because these are incredibly, again, audience industry impact incredible. I want to bring in because we're not short on time, but I'm just gonna bring them together because they are one of the biggest reasons that I think they're breadwinners are because of their multiplayer online capabilities. So I already said
okay.
I already said WoW, but I'm also gonna lob in Dota / League of Legends into this lobby.
Geez, we're gonna talk about all three of those together. I mean, the thing that unites those games in my mind is that once a person sort of becomes a player of that game, they are a World of Warcraft guy. They are like the Dota guy, like that sort of thing. Like it becomes their identity in a way that is not true of most of these other games.
100%. That is why I'm putting them all together. You hit the nail on the head, Lane, and that's why I love doing these podcasts with you.
Yes, we got there. All right, so by the way, Peter, I'm just gonna tease something here. But
Yes.
all of these games come from my number 2 game.
Ooh, okay. We're working up that list. I'm just gonna go over this very briefly because these games, while of course having some of the biggest industry impact you've ever seen in games industry, where like World of Warcraft, people are still attempting to make World of Warcraft clones, with very few of them surviving. Dota into Dota 2 has been an incredibly thriving community too, where Steam has basically fully fledged hired the sub dev of Dota 1 to make Dota 2 way back when. And League of Legends scaling down Dota, again showing that approachability, simplicity in teaching a player how to play, then giving them the creativity to design their own playstyle, has shown that you can still work on a game, cut it down, slim it down, and perfect the formula. No game is perfect out of the gate, and this is where it basically says that each of these games have a scene that is going to be person defining, but also can be esports defining, which is going to be and this is why League of Legends takes the cake for me a little bit, is that League of Legends has created or has become one of the rallying points for esports, like Call of Duty, yes. Counter-Strike back in the day was a beginning of esports as well. But League of Legends and Fortnite's on this list because it's too new. Fortnite should be on this list, but esports defining is going to be something that I can't shake away. I am, for lack of a better word, jealous that I did not grow up in this generation where I could be a professional League of Legends player. I'm angry. I wish Lena was still younger. I wish so badly I could be an esports player. Honorable mention is StarCraft 2. Continue.
Okay, yeah, I think that's fair. I think that StarCraft could have made it to my list. I mean, I definitely love that game.
Yes,
quite a bit.
100%.
I think that it was sort of in a way people sort of learned from StarCraft how to do the sort of thing that League of Legends did.
Yes.
And I think that one of the things about League is that so many of the games that I've talked about so far have just sort of been wow, this game with no updates, with no support, managed to evoke this level of community love and support, and the community did it themselves.
Yes.
But you can take that, and what these MOBAs show is I think you can basically take that level of groundswell of just enthusiasm of the game and probably multiply it by 20.
Oh, yeah.
If it has developer support, if it has people creating the events for it from the top. And that's what all these games do, but particularly the MOBAs that you mentioned. I think that there has probably rarely been the level of human or serotonin in a room, neurons firing as during some of these world events for League of Legends. I think that you would put your that up there with your sort of top FIFA events thing. which is phenomenal, because what these have done is they've taken games to a cultural phenomenon. We already know. Games make more money than movies do. They are a cultural phenomenon. Blah blah blah. But this expands them out to being in terms of people sort of rallying around them as a culture. That those events really make them meaningful in a way that they weren't otherwise.
Correct. I cannot say when was the last movie that has inspired a culture, and it's very few. I cannot think of a one. I'm not a big movie buff myself, but everything Disney is just Disney culture. That's not the same. That doesn't spawn a complete fandom, and it doesn't make a whole industry happen.
Absolutely, yeah. They're good for adding like words to the lexicon for sure.
Yeah.
But in terms of like I am a like Moscow 5 fan or something like that. Like
exactly.
I don't even know who's playing these days, or I'm like a Faker fan. There's like there are people who identify themselves not even as like the League of Legends like player, but as like a particular devotee of a specific team and that's just like amazing to me.
Yep, exactly. Okay, I've said my piece. Go Lane.
Now, like, why does World of Warcraft fit in with those? Because I feel like in my sort of a view, the like emotional profile of a World of Warcraft player or like an MMO player is very different. Like I sort of feel like and maybe this is incorrect, but maybe it's because we've talked about these aspirational moments around MOBAs, but like. When I think of like a League of Legends player, I think of somebody who like wants to be something or wants to become something, wants to strive to become better, partially because that game rewards you for having faster hands, sharper perceptions, be looking at paying attention to the right things, and to have more game knowledge.
Yeah.
Whereas for a like World of Warcraft player, and to another extent for like basically all MMOs,
yes,
those games sort of push you to have a more like Delta Wave style, where you are just sitting there, you're putting in your time, and you're becoming stronger at the game because you are dedicating more of yourself to it.
Correct.
And I see those things as very different, though obviously both do suck people into them. What do you think?
I think they're very much the same. Because, of course, to become a better player for any game, you have to spend more time in. And World of Warcraft is going to be one of those games that is a little unhealthy for players, which is why all of these are lumped up together, because each of these can be a little unhealthy for a person.
They certainly can be. They certainly can be. I perceive them as being like a little bit different. I don't disagree with you, but to me, like World of Warcraft, I think sort of. I'm a big fan of this game, but to a degree, I sort of like feel like I wish I could turn off the part of my brain that gets rewarded from becoming like good at World of Warcraft, because I feel like it is a simulacrum of achievement. Unless you are really way out there at like the top level rating or PvP, you have gotten the same sort of reward that you would get if you like learned how to play an instrument or something, but you did it by doing rote actions that like and not pushing yourself. Whereas if you get really like high level in League of Legends and in Dota, you have in some way challenged yourself that you don't by playing most MMOs.
Yeah, and like you can push that envelope a little farther in terms of like the MMO types of PvP. Like even for Final Fantasy 14, Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 2 has pushed the envelope for what an MMO endgame content could be or look like. So I'm excited to say that even though there's a whole we want you to come back, log in, grind every day because we want your we want your money, we want your time. That's how we grow our player base. Dota, League of Legends don't need your time anymore. They are so established that because they're again Dota, League of Legends. Or sorry, I don't know if Dota 2 is free. I'm pretty sure it is. Dota 2 is free.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. Those games are free. A lot of these games are pay for service, and that's what they need. They need your time. That's why they have you pay for the subscription. Whereas the other games that are free respect the player's time. And say, we know we're a good game. We know you want to play. We're just going to have you pay for all types of premiums. And we're going to say, if you want to free up your time, you can just pay money to unlock characters, as opposed to MOBAs, or sorry, not MOBAs, MMOs being like, no, in order to progress, you need to spend your time.
It is somewhat thrilling to me to see like people sort of freeing themselves from World of Warcraft and exploring other MMOs at the moment. I don't know if you've probably seen this, that like that game has collapsed down to like a third of its player base over the last year.
Yep.
And a lot of that has gone over to FF14. And I'm not an expert on that game by any stretch.
I love
14. But having seen a little bit of the like storyline of that game, oh my goodness, are people going to start understanding what that medium can do?
Yeah, no, 14 has got some real shit. Like, I don't know, the Lalafell, so not the Lalafell, what is it? talking about the Tonberry giving Tonberries, and this is not, I hope not to spoiler anybody, but they gave a mission in a main story questline, I believe, for Tonberries. And holy shit, I did not expect that to go that direction. I did not think they were going to give like enemies that kind of level of background. So, but yeah, Final Fantasy 14 is a great game. I've had easily thousands of hours in that game, easily.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know. Okay. All right. Peter, outside of show notes, something that we should cut, but yes. I desperately have to use the restroom right now, so I will be back in just a moment.
Oh no, I'm gonna go back on my Minecraft soapbox then. You go ahead.
Fantastic, please.
So as we get to this final part of the episode here, I'm gonna go back to Minecraft and talk about why it is my number one pick generation defining game. And when Link gets back, we'll have them reveal number 2 and then go right into their number 1 pick. Because honestly, again, having never played a lot of Minecraft, I have never seen so many people rally behind something in terms of a community. In that, the Yogs cast people, a lot of the people that are doing speedrunning, like everything that we've mentioned for all these other games is encompassed in Minecraft. We've talked about Undertale having a fandom. We're talked about Mario 64, Ocarina of Time, establishing new game design mechanics and creating like the pathway and like fixing so many design issues with previous games. What was it? Farmville, Bejeweled, Candy Crush being games that are viral. And then even Smash Bros. Melee having a tournament community, our speedrunning community, and so on and so forth. Minecraft has all of those encompassed and more. And that's my puncher. That's my clincher. Minecraft, again, has a convention. It has this, granted, all these other games have merch and things like that. But there's not many people that are going to go out into the world and casually say that they like Undertale, casually say that they continue to play Mario 64, but people will happily casually converse about Minecraft. And it could just be because of my internal bias, my audience bias, the people I choose to hang out with. Sure, and I hang out with a bunch of nerds. I do. Don't doubt me on that. But
I hate that about you, Peter.
I'm so sorry. But I was just gonna say, welcome back, Lane, that Minecraft encompasses every single game we have mentioned in terms of Undertale's community, Mario 64, Ocarina of Time's fixing, adding new mechanics, fixing designs, Farmville, Bejeweled, Candy Crush's virality, and more. Like, Minecraft does all those things and has constant viewership on streams, has created so many industry-defining terms, and has given people many of their jobs, including people like Yogscast. So that's why I think Minecraft, I could go on, but Minecraft is my pick. It is not my favorite game. My favorite game is actually League of Legends. Oh, sorry, I don't know. It's kind of a tie between Path of Exile, which we didn't get to, but I'm okay with that because Path of Exile is its own anomaly. I love the Diablos, the Grinding Gear series of games, action RPGs. Path of Exile is my probably favorite game of my generation so far. Like it's beaten out the classics because even though I have nostalgia goggles for those, Path of Exile continues to improve and change the way people play its own game, and I'm looking forward to Path of Exile too. I really am. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens there. But back to Lane, I want to hear what your number 2 is and what your number 1 is.
All right, baby. All right, hold on. Whoa. I have to double back here for a sec.
Okay, go ahead.
Because I wanted to say on Minecraft, I think that I feel like there's few games that I feel have a great sense of gratitude for. Mm-hmm. Even though I don't play it, but there's something about Minecraft where it's for a long time it was the biggest game. Yeah. From a numerical standpoint, and I think that it basically being a game that was I think, and somebody could totally pop this bubble, but having the biggest game for several years be something that you would put probably right around neutral good in the alignment chart, where its virality was because it looked really fun and people wanted to play with their friends.
Yes.
And its side effects were things like, oh, I'm going to get deep into this and sort of start learning how to mod, or I'm going to get deep into this and start like making stuff like in a more and more elaborate fashion, or like even learning some of the basic of like logic gates with the redstone. Like I think that game potentially, if you were to say like which game probably did the most good just in terms of like its mechanics and like the things that it led to, it's hard to not put Minecraft way up at the top.
Yeah. I want to say there's a quote somewhere that exists that Minecraft is the Legos of our generation.
Yeah. I think that totally sums it up.
Yeah.
All right. So my number two is a game that I just personally am like completely in love with. But I think that a strong argument can be made that is a excellent game, but also one that has been outrageously influential. And that is Warcraft 3.
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
Now we're talking about here a game that is in no way as large as Minecraft is, in no way as like influential over its time. Although certainly millions and millions and millions of people got it. But what I think is really special about this game is, much like many of the ones that we've talked about, it has viewability, watchability that like is essentially like almost second to none at this point. But I think what's more important than that is that it put tools in people's hands that didn't exist before, where there were ways that you could make games that were very, very challenging but powerful, or that were very easy but you couldn't get that much variety out of it. I'm talking about like the StarCraft 1 map editor.
Yes.
But what this did was it somehow got I don't know about millions, but certainly hundreds of thousands of people to try out a map editor and find out that they had good game ideas. And the things that it has led to are astronomically diverse and outrageously popular. I mean, like obviously this was the stepping stone that brought us to World of Warcraft. Obviously it's the series that made things like MOBAs big for the first time. I think that StarCraft had Aeon of Strife, but this game really made the hero concept a lot easier to work with. Yes. But like, I think that it's also in a way sort of led to a lot of these like horror games where like you chase people around type mechanics, because people explored so much in the way of like horror and tag mechanics within the Warcraft map editor that I think that we are feeling a industry that is in a large part shaped by people who were just like dicking around with this editor and coming up with cool stuff. Like, yeah. It was a way to like put novice game developers and have it so that like you could have 10,000 people having tried your game over the next week. And I just think that like we'll never quite know how big of an impact this had.
You're right, because I'm looking at when you talk about the modding scene, I go all the way back to like Counter-Strike 1.6, which was my after school. I stayed up till 2 a.m. playing that game all night. I would play the Warcraft 3 mod of that game because I freaking love the ability to like have this, like you get a character, you get bullets, you get guns, sure, but you had like skills, abilities, and the secret shop menu items that you could get. You can hold up to 2 accessories, and you could hold any combination of any 2 items from the sub shop menu, and that modding is what got me into like the thinking of the potential of playing like there's like, oh my gosh, like people took the time to make this game. I should get into game design myself, kind of idea.
Yeah, and when I think about our generation specifically, because the thing is like I can very easily say that like Minecraft may be a game of the sort of Zoomer generation. Whereas, like, when I like, maybe, but you're right. It did employ like there are so many content creators of around our age that like got in with Minecraft as well. But like in terms of like the number of like game developers that I know and like artists that I know that got influenced by the Warcraft series and particularly Warcraft 3.
Yep.
Man. Oh, okay. One other thing to gush about with this game. I know that I'm threatening to make us go a little bit long here.
Oh, no, you're fine. Happy to hear it.
There's a special thing about this game, which is that, like, I think that if you watch RTSs and you're like StarCraft 1, there's something that's kind of like broken about the controls in that game that makes it extremely awkward, and that pushes people toward wanting to get really, really good at micro in that game. And then in StarCraft 2, you have this incredibly good node-based pathfinding, but it means that all of your units can basically all be present in a fight all at once, and that pushes you towards more of this like wanting to get really good at macro, just like building stuff, having more money than your opponent.
Yeah, matters.
War 3 has this very unique thing, and I want to know if any of the games that I've missed, like the Dawn of War games or like the like Total War games or any of these, have anything that's on this level where watching top level Warcraft 3 games, a surprising quantity of them, I would say like 20 to 25%, hinge on somebody doing something unexpected. There is a level of surprise in this game to like 20 years after it's come out, where like you'll see somebody, because they had like a wisp next to a shop that let them buy a sapper to go and kill their opponent's last building while they were after a base trade. That's why they won. So that the amount of like suspense and surprise that's in Warcraft 3 all these years later makes it fill a very like special niche where it's just still something that produces these really cool videos. I'm like a little bit sad that game never really reached the lofty peaks of watchability or of like viewership that like MOBAs and StarCraft 1 did, because man, is there some cool stuff there.
No, you're right. I would say Warcraft 3 is going to be one of the first games out there that allowed for creativity, because everything else, even like if you go way back to like Red Alert, that game had such simple structures and like such simple mechanics that it didn't allow for that kind of creativity, because there were no randomized shops. There were no like, everything was set in stone from the beginning, but there was very little room for a player to express themselves, and that's where like that's where Warcraft 3 comes out, because StarCraft was a game that was locked in information and it was all about performance. There was like there's some room for expression, I guess, but I don't know. None of like, we don't need to talk about the heart pylon during competitive play. That was fun. I don't know if you remember that, but like that's more like, that's more trash talking, but that's not expressing yourself through character and mechanics. Warcraft 3 allowed for people to do that crazy sat play, to choose what hero they want to use, to pick and choose like what tech tree they want to go through, and then of course implement funny like, I'm gonna spend workers to go, spend workers to get wood, back route all the way around this to their base. They're never gonna expect an attack coming from this direction. I'm gonna lose economy, but this back route is gonna do a lot for me.
Yeah, absolutely. The fact that from a design perspective, the fact that so many things interact with so many things, like every like AoE thing in the game destroys trees, so you can like do those sneak attacks. Like it's just and that's like a thing that I, as like my like middle school self, thought I'll be able to sneak this in, and then you actually see like one in 20 games like a top level player actually do that. It's crazy the number of things that are viable in that game. Okay. From a design perspective, just so much to gush about with that. Got any honorable mentions before I do my number one?
God of War. I had a list. I had it prepared for in my mind, but just God of War. It's really good. The reimagining is exactly what that reimagining was exactly what you should be doing, to say we can tell compelling stories. We're not just a hack and slasher. I mean, that game itself is a hack and slash really fun game, but they're like, in the pausing moments, we're allowing players to explore the world, learn these characters. Honorable mention to Metroid Dread, which I've never played, but apparently is very good.
Dude.
I don't think it's greatest game of our generation, but I hear a lot of people say it's their new favorite Metroid of their entirety of their collection. So I'm like, that's pretty high praise.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. We could talk about that down the road. Dare I venture into my one complaint about that game?
No, go ahead, please.
I don't think that it achieves the same sense of place as as some of the other top Metroid games.
Yeah.
I think that the environments are a little bit like, for some reason, like the music is not quite as amazing, and then the backgrounds feel a little bit like kind of gray grayed out, so that you kind of feel like you're in the same sort of like Halo like copy pasted room a lot of the time.
Yeah, 100%.
But that's me reaching because that game's freaking good.
Okay. All
right.
You said Halo. Shout outs to Halo. Call
yes,
of Duty.
yes.
All those games, like, good, not genre defined. Not greatest game of our generation, no.
Yeah, and I think that there is a a group of people out there who would totally put those up there.
Yeah, and
just happens to not be us.
Yeah, and that's again, those are absolutely acceptable favorite games. Because again, like we have different favorite games, but we are picking something that we are feeling is generation defining.
Yes.
All right, let's see the big reveal.
I have honorable mentions, Peter. Honorable mentions.
Yes.
I think that like Dark Souls would have to be like way up there. Just in terms of, I think, psychologically exploring like what games can be and doing it in such a likable way.
Correct.
And I also would probably have to put Chrono Trigger up there. If that counts, is that too old? Is that too old?
It is.
Yeah.
Earthbound is too old also. They don't count.
Shoot. Okay. Well, dang it. Okay. Now I can't count that game. I think that like for its time, it was very influential. But I think what it really is it's sort of just like a perfect gem. There's not a whole lot of games that exist that are perfect. But okay. All right. If I have to, Peter, I'm gonna say Magic.
What?
That game
is you're
cheating. Immense, dude.
No.
How am I cheating?
Back up.
How am I cheating? Back up. What's up?
When did Magic? Oh, no.
I'm talking about the Urza Saga expansion, Peter.
No, I was like, Magic goes all the way back. Like that game is released like 1970s.
That game is evergreen. No, you're thinking of Dungeons and Dragons, my dude. Magic came out in 1993.
Unbelievable.
And had its first expansion. It had its like re-release in '94. That's when first major printing was. But like, dude, that game is evergreen, baby. It's never getting old. Fine. If we were to say like chess, that's kind of an old game, right?
No.
But Magic has gotten updates, dude.
No. Okay. All right. I 100% agree that this game is fantastic. It is constantly seeing updates, and that's great. You've kind of caught me for a twist because I'm supposed to be the board game person, and here you are bringing in notable mentions and saying number one thing.
Two. Yep.
Two of them. And I love board games. I do, but they are not. For what I've seen in my mind, in my case, something that I would some board games I'd be called generation defining, but there's not a board game that I have seen besides Catan, which is probably the only one that I think would be something that I would clarify as a generation defining board game. Magic is the only other exception, and you are correct. But technically, it came out in 1993, which is outside of our 25 years thing, but I agree that this is in fact probably go on, please continue.
Okay, like I can't sit idly by and let you say that a small game that existed from somebody driving around the Pacific Northwest selling it out of his car to game shops, that is the actual first incarnation of Magic, because I think that this game has evolved so much that there is no saying that the 1993-94 version of Magic is the definitive edition.
No,
I would say at the very least, when they split it into different formats, would be one place where I could say is where that game is the cutoff point of the new Magic, and like that was well after our split point here. But okay, like the thing about this game is that it has been a tremendous uniter of people. There are many games that like a person that you know will start playing them and they will sort of get siloed off, and that is going to be like their new identity. We've talked about Minecraft. We've talked about other games that can sort of bring people together and like are a fun thing to do with the friends. But I think that there's probably no game that I can think of that has created friendships on the level that Magic the Gathering has. There are so many other things that it does. It is a wonderful game in terms of providing many different environments for people to play, in terms of encouraging creativity in terms of like actually rewarding creativity and surprise at a top level. But I really do think that the reason why it is at the top of mine is that like perhaps there is no greater creator of friendships between game players than this game.
I cannot argue against that because actually some of my good friends that I've met in my life have been through Magic. So oof. And I have to give it to you that Magic the Gathering has been doing everything Minecraft has been doing before Minecraft came out, and that it was industry defining. There have been whole conventions based over Magic, competitions, tournaments, so on and so forth. People have made it into a career since 1998, so on and so forth. You said specifically Urza's, right? Urza Saga?
I mean, that's just because that was the first set that I got. That was just it was a joke. I think that like Urza's was like anybody in the like industry would tell you like that game, that was the one that was most threatening to destroy Magic. It was not a good creation point.
Yeah, but that was okay. Like before, there was things like Alliance and Kamigawa.
Yes. The like Tempest block was the first one that was like super exciting.
Exactly.
And, Urza's was then probably going a little too far in the hot direction.
Oh, but you're fine. You're fine. I came in on Zendikar, so that was my Zendikar 1, like a first one. But like, but this game does do all of that. It establishes it has established so well how to make a game both core based mechanic there was a wonderful talk. I highly recommend it. It used to be my desktop image for a long time, but like the 25 years of Magic, 25 lessons kind of thing is a GDC talk. Highly recommend it. But they go through and they talk about their design philosophy about how to make Magic, how they made Magic so memorable, approachable, and even mechanically, like what certain things stick. Like lifelink is like people love the idea of lifelink. People love the idea of lifelink trample. Now that we're in like the return to his Innistrad, people kind of like transforming. Day and night is cool, but it is not. This is a mechanic that they're not going to keep ever. Like it's going to be like, oh, whenever we go back to Innistrad, we'll do day night again. We'll do like the transforming cards. The transforming cards are cool, but it'll never come back. But that's what you say. That's okay. That's how you establish a good mechanic. Yes, continue.
Oh well, yeah. Like you brought up Mark Rosewater's 20 years, 20 lessons GDC talk. Yes. Beautiful. Probably one of the things that I've shared out more than anything else. And partially because the lessons that you get from people talking about that game and like the culture around that game are applicable to many, many other things. I know that like when the McGregor brothers and I were making Fingens, like that was a touchstone where we like would share articles with each other about like the design of Magic because that was like something that we were talking about while making that game. But the thing that like drags me down here, and the reason why I can't say that like Magic is like far and away number one, is it is sort of inescapably tied to a certain business model. And I'm not gonna say that business model is like anything particularly dark. It's very honest about what it is. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, like what I really admire about Minecraft is that the like scene around it is not predicated on let's give Mojang hundreds or thousands of additional dollars. It is let's see how far we can push our minds and our creativity and our like socializing around this game. Whereas I think, and this is even more true, I believe, with Arena, that and the other like online clients for Magic, is that the deeper you go into it, unless you're specifically playing the cube format or creating your own cards, the deeper you go into it, the more financially invested you have to be in Hasbro specifically.
Yeah, I will say that.
And so that's the one reason. Yeah, that's the one like shade that I have to put on my own answer here.
No, I'll go even one farther and say that the reason I also disagree with MTG is that its actual community base is also not the greatest. It's not inviting. And that's the hardest part about being a Magic player is that this is like a sidebar, but it is an important topic. Is that I've graded a lot of these games that we've come up on their community, on how inviting, how much people feel welcomed to enjoy and partake in these games, And Magic is one of them that is not the greatest. League of Legends even worse, mind you. League of Legends is even worse. But Magic, oh gosh, oh my god.
I have to strongly agree with you there. Like there are reasons why Magic is still like way up there for me, but I think that you'll find that like virtually all like fighting game communities, at least the ones that I'm a part of, are like tighter knit than Magic communities. Magic communities, like what I've experienced is it's a wonderful way to go from about being like 0% friends with somebody to about 33% friends with somebody. It's fantastic for that. There is no possible better tool that I know of for like doing that with a great number of people. But I think that like there is something about the fact that like it's a difficult game to watch. It's a difficult game to like form communities around like cheering people on. I don't think that the like watchable competitive side of it has really taken off. It is not something that people can really build their identity around, other than like, oh, I'm like a Prosh player, or like I play a lot of Commander decks or something like that. And like those things don't tribalize people in the same way that like you can with like a really good Minecraft mod or a team that people follow in League of Legends.
Yep, I would say you brought it up a little bit with Warcraft 3, in that some of the things that makes a good game really good is its spectatability, like the ability to be like, oh, I know nothing about this, I'm watching it. Is it interesting? Yes, no. Magic is a very easy no. It's like okay, I see a bunch of cards on the table, they're giving commentary, okay, cool. All right. So like they tap some stuff, okay, and they're talking, and they're just pointing at a card. Okay, cool. Yep. All right. But you look at Minecraft, you're like, wow, they're like crafting a thing, and what are they doing? They're laying down blocks. Okay, and then they step away from the thing, like, oh my god, they built a thing. It's a statue. It's like, oh, look at the little home. So much more different.
In fighting games and in League of Legends, you sort of have an easy in on the drama based on people's HP bars, what objectives you control. Like there's physical things that really show you how well somebody's doing. Yeah. With Magic, I mean, it's so arcane. Sorry about that. That it is like difficult to parse what's going on, even if you're somebody who is like very enfranchised in it.
Yeah.
And it sort of has like this like chess type issue with it, where it's not always obvious who is winning unless you are deeply like engaged in the game.
Yeah. There was a famous screenshot, or like a how to tell a player is winning, where like somebody is visually at 5 life and the opponent has 2 monsters in front of them. But they're like, who is winning in the screenshot? And like, oh, the person with 2 monsters, right? No, they have no cards in hand, and the person with 5 life has 7. Who is actually winning?
What's the storm count?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like who is about to win? Like you can't tell these things. Like in a fighting game, you'd be like, oh my god, they're both at low life. The next hit's gonna do it. That's nail biting.
Totally. You got it. Yeah. And yet, despite all of this, I still would say that there's no game that I have had more conversations about and that has led to more friendships than this game has. So there's really something special about it. And yet the thing is, it has this like texture to it where there are dark sides as well. It's not as easily a like this is a good for the world as Minecraft is.
Yes.
So I remain thinking that like it has a enormous impact. But how that actually affects your life is sort of up to you.
So this is what I mentioned this briefly when I was talking about Minecraft while you were gone. I would not openly tell people that I like Undertale. I could say I enjoyed Mario 64 and Ocarina of Time, and I play a little bit of Melee. But I could mention to anybody that I play Minecraft, and they would immediately get it.
Yeah.
And the reason that what you've just said for Magic the Gathering is very true for adults, but Minecraft is for all ages. And I'm sure within our own right, we can't just say, oh, you want to play Minecraft? Cool, let's play Minecraft together. Anyone that is a child can do that with Minecraft, and that is going to be how they have bonded friendships and stuff like that very easily. So we missed out on that, but Minecraft has that exact same feeling that Magic the Gathering has for us right now as adults.
All right. Well, I'm glad that those two managed to make it to the top and not Candy Crush. You tried,
no.
Peter.
No,
You tried.
I do not adore Candy Crush. I just know as a game, it changed the industry. It changed the way people play.
I have not seen you in a while, so I don't know if you have like a handlebar mustache that you can twirl while you talk about that.
I kind of do.
Very nice. Very nice.
Okay.
Very appropriate.
All right, folks. This has been a great discussion. If you agree, disagree, or want to yell at us, please do so. Feel free to put it in the comments, subscribe, all that good stuff. And of course, we're always open to new topics. We have a couple things lined up for next session, such as talking about the learning curve and mechanics, bugs and trusts, bugs and player trust, digital versus board games, and the fun of fixing a game. So there's a lot of things that we can talk about. But if you have any ideas, feel free to comment, post us, reach out to us individually, whichever. But yes, I think that's going to do it for our episode today. This has been Peter and Lane walking down the Pebbled path to game design.
Later, folks.